Hello everyone, how's it going? This is my first art video that I'm making, and I'll be upfront and honest with you all right from the get-go. I'm not entirely sure what I'll be going over in this video. I guess I have an outline of things I can say, but I will not be going off of a script because I'd rather talk about what I'd want to talk about. See, this is going to be probably part tutorial, part vlog, part talking about what I'm painting. In this case, it's Metal Gear Solid, so I'll probably talk about that for a little bit. That's actually a lie, and I'll kind of tell you why later. But anyway, so without further ado, let's talk about the process. So the process of making these paintings, I start with finding a picture that I like. I go for pretty simple ones, but I like to get a little more difficult pictures as each time, so that I'm getting better and not just stagnating. Now, so after I find a picture, I put it on my laptop and I full screen the picture on my laptop. Now, I hook up my projector to my laptop, and I realize that not everyone's gonna have a projector, but I'll kind of get into that a little bit later. So I project the image onto an empty wall. I have a room where I do all my art, so it's pretty empty, and it's really good because doing this process takes up a bit of space. I have an area where I'm projecting and tracing, and I have an area, as you can see here in this video, that I'm carving. But anyway, back on topic. So I project the image onto the wall, an empty wall, and I want the image to be the size of the paper that I'm painting on. So now the reality of it is the image that you've chosen most likely will not be the same dimensions as the paper you're painting on. So you're gonna have to do some I'm forgetting the word cropping of the image so that the four corners of your image fits the four corners of your piece of paper. So once you got the image all set, you tape your piece of paper onto the ball where your image is, so that the four corners of the image are aligned with the four corners of the piece of paper. Now that that's done, you start your tracing. Now, in this picture, I am only using one color, and that is black. So I trace all of the black parts of the image, and yeah, that's what the tracing is. I just trace all the black parts of the image. Now, the black parts, or everything that I trace, is going to be cut out. All the black parts are being cut out, so that when you paint them, your paint lands on the piece of paper under your stencil. So that's a little confusing, but I mean it'll make sense when you do it and when you see it. So now let's say you have a painting that has more than one color, let's say black, red, and green. Now you're going to want to trace each of the colors separately. So let's say we start with black. You trace all the black parts of your image on one piece of paper, and then you trace all your green parts on another piece of paper, and then you trace all your red parts on another separate piece of paper. Now, once you've done tracing, and we're going to go back to just only one color, because that's what this video is just one color. So now that you're done with that, you can take your picture off the wall, and you can start cutting it out. Now, I like to cut out on a bulletin board because it's like cutting over a sponge. It's not really damaging anything. It's better than scratching up your desk. That is a no bueno. Anyway, so, I mean, cutting it out is pretty simple. There are some complicated things about it that I would like to talk about but it's pretty hard to explain without actually showing you. I'll probably make a video on that later, but for now you just cut it out with an X-Acto blade, and that's that. Now once you've finished cutting everything out, you go outside or in a well-ventilated area. That's an important part. If you want to wear a gas mask or some kind of mask that will filter out the paint, that's great, even safer. So you want to put your cutout piece of paper on top of a blank piece of paper of the same size, and I would say tape the corners together so that your piece of paper isn't shifting, from the wind or something like that. So, and then once it's all aligned, you just paint over it. And that's probably the most simple part, is the actual painting. All the complicated stuff is the tracing and the cutting out. Now, once you have your picture, you're finished. And that's pretty much the process. Now, I mentioned earlier that there's kind of an alternative way of doing things. Now, if you are good at drawing, or decent at drawing, you may not even need a projector. You can make your own drawings on a piece of paper and then just cut it out. And you're skipping the whole step of finding a picture online, projecting it on the wall, and tracing, because you're just drawing it from your own mind. And I think that's super cool, and I would like to do that eventually, but I am not the best at drawing, and that's just kind of the fact of the matter, but I intend to do it eventually. Now, so yeah, that's one way where you don't even have to have a projector to do this. And honestly, I think you can find a projector for a reasonable price, because there are a bunch of old projectors that don't get used. So with all that being said, I think that's the end of the tutorial aspect of this video. And again, like I said earlier, this is not a super structured format. I'm not too concerned about following a structure, because I'm just gonna do what I want to do. That kind of sounds like a little selfish, but I mean, when you think about it, I'm not doing this to get millions of subscribers. I'm just doing this because I want to and I feel like it. Now, don't get me wrong, I want this to be an enjoyable experience for the people watching, but I'm going to follow the passion and not the prestige. I'm going to do what works for me. And what works for me right now is just talking about what I want to talk about. And maybe some people won't really be down for that, but other people will be, so that's perfectly awesome. So now that we're done with the process, we'll talk about a little bit about me. So my first painting was in my sophomore year of high school. I was taking an art class that I didn't really want to take, but I was taking it anyway because you need an art credit, right? And one of our assignments was to do a stencil art of someone's face, just like anyone's face. So I did one on James Franco because because the Spider-Man trilogy was very formative in my childhood. So he was, I guess, what came to mind. Now, I realize he's in different movies too, but when I think James Franco, I think of Spider-Man. Anyway, yeah, so I did that, and I really enjoyed it. And fast forward 2 years, and it's the summer between my senior year of high school and my freshman year of college. And I realized, I really enjoyed doing that, and I want to do that again. So I found a picture. It was Joker from Persona 5, and I painted it. I did the same process. Now, it was not the greatest picture because I was pretty new at the time. I'm still new to it, but I have learned a lot. Now, after I did Joker, I did Celti from Durarara. She's the Dullahan. And after that, I did 9 from Terror and Resonance. Oh yeah, I also did some Persona 5 calling cards on a tiny piece of paper. It was fun, but it didn't turn out very well because it's hard to work with a small piece of paper. It's easier on a larger piece of paper. But with that being said, that's pretty much my art history. Oh yeah, I found this image and I wanted to do it, but some people were like, hey, you should record your process and make videos off of it. I'm like, you know, that sounds pretty fun. So here we are, my first video, and I'll be honest, I kind of have been stalling on making this video because I've been thinking like, well, what if it's not what people like, or maybe if it is something that people like, but that I'll grow to not like it. So it's kind of like what I mentioned earlier. I'm doing it for the passion, not the prestige. And that's pretty much that. So I started making this video, and we're up to the present. As of right now, it's September 21st, 2019. And oh, I guess we didn't really talk about Snake. Did we talk about Snake? Because I think I mentioned earlier that we wouldn't actually be talking about Snake. Sorry. I've never played Metal Gear, but I do enjoy video games, and it's the end of the video. That's a funny way to end it. But I'll see you guys later, and thank you for watching. Like, seriously, thanks.